Hello and welcome to the Monday, December 1st, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich, recording today from Dallas, Texas. And this episode is brought to you by the SANS.edu Graduate Certificate Program in Cybersecurity Leadership. Well, first of all, it looks like this long weekend, at least here in the US, was pretty eventless and no emergencies here to report about. Nothing that you need to do right now in order to sort of catch up for whatever threat you may have missed this long weekend. But we do have a couple sort of smaller things that are certainly worth covering. First one is a new development when it comes to ClickFix attacks. ClickFix attacks do trick victims into copy-pasting commands into a command prompt to then execute malicious code. The latest version was here identified by Acronis, and what they observed is attackers using fake blue screens of death, and with that, again, tricking users into copy-pasting commands into a command prompt. The ultimate idea is exactly the same as ClickFix, but just the lure is a little bit different with the blue screen of death, maybe a little bit more plausible at this point, given that we hopefully have taught users about ClickFix or they have experienced it firsthand, while they may not have seen this with a blue screen. Apparently, the websites with displaying these blue screens are being advertised via Google Ads, and the blue screen doesn't show up right away, but only after the user interacts a little bit with the website, maybe also making this a little bit more plausible, but also making it more difficult to detect and eliminate these malicious websites. The blog by Untenue does outline an interesting trick that attackers are apparently playing with Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams, if you're enabling it in an enterprise context, you have a rich set of protection features that you are able to enable if you are trying to filter content. Now, the problem here that attackers are taking advantage of is that the users who are used to this kind of enterprise setup, well, are expecting this protection even if they're joining someone else's Teams space. Teams allows guests to join another team space, and what's happening here is that the attacker is essentially setting up their own Teams environment without any of these protections and then inviting the victim to join their Teams environment and then exposing them to these malicious links and similar threats. Again, social engineering, a little bit like what we just covered with ClickFix, where users really don't quite understand the environment that they are connecting to. Then there's one vulnerability that I want to talk about today, and that's an external XML entity vulnerability in GeoServer. Two reasons why I want to cover this. First of all, GeoServer is one of those tools we do see scans for and have seen scans for a couple of years now. So it's definitely targeted by attackers and shouldn't really be exposed in the first place. It's one of those complex systems to deal with geographic information systems, coordinates, and the like. And yes, it has had multiple vulnerabilities in the past, is often not configured correctly also. That's another issue with that. So please don't expose it if you can help it. And then the second reason I want to cover it is external XML entities is an often overlooked issue that keeps popping up, in particular in these sort of complex data processing systems that often deal with XML. What it really refers to is that an attacker may include essentially commands in an XML document that redefine entities as content of files or remote URLs. So essentially your parser is now going out and hitting that URL, which can then also lead to server-side request forgery, or they can read an internal file, which basically is sort of an internal file inclusion vulnerability. So definitely don't overlook these XML vulnerabilities. A lot of them can be controlled by adjusting your parser correctly. In this particular case, well, GeoServer released a patch for it. Well, and that's it for today. So thanks for listening. If you are here in Dallas, I'll be giving a talk, I think, on Wednesday about the Internet Storm Center. And I also have one more class actually this year that I'll be teaching. It'll be online only, but on the European time zone. And it's our Intrusion Detection in Depth Sec 503 class. That's it for today. Thanks for listening and talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.